Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Paramagurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Sarvagurubhyo Namaha. So today we're going to continue on with our discussion of Mumuksupadi, and we finished the introduction to Mumuksupadi by, we were looking at the text translated by Patricia Mummy, and we're now going to actually start the text of Mumuksupadi. So we have this, I believe, Sarata Deepika of P.B. Anangacharya. So let's have a look at that. Mumuksupadi Sarata Deepika. This is by P.B. Anangacharya Swami, who was a Tengalayacharya from Kanchipuram, very recent. And so this is a very short commentary according to based on the commentary of Madhavalabha Muni by him. So we'll have a look at that. Starts out with the Pranam mantra to Pila Lokacharya, Lokacharya Gurave, Krishna Padas Yishunave, Samsara Bhogi Sandasta, Jiva Jivatave Namaha. All beings who are born repeatedly in this world suffer in the samsaric cycle, and suffer in the samsaric cycle, have to understand many things in order to obtain moksha or liberation. Of these many things, one of the most important is the understanding of the Artha Panchakam. Now, Artha Panchakam, he's referring here in the beginning of this book, he's referring to another book, another Rahasya Grantha written by Pila Lokacharya called Artha Panchakam, which is a short book which talks about 5 things. The understanding of 1, the nature of the Supreme; 2, the nature of the jiva or the individual soul; 3, the means of attaining liberation; 4, the nature of the goal to be attained, so the means or the upaya; and then the nature of the goal, what liberation means. So we understood that liberation in the Sri Vaishnava context means the eternal service of Sriman Narayana. And 5, the obstacles in attaining the goal that is sought. They are not; those 5 things are called as Artha Panchakam. So the 5 Artha means what should be gained. And so 5 Artha Panchakam. The knowledge of these 5 are given clearly by the 3 Rahasyas. Right? Again, the word Rahasya means secrets. And what are those 3 secrets? Those 3 secrets are, number 1, the Astakshara mantra, here called Tira mantra, right? Om Namo Narayanaya, the 8-syllable mantra. The Dwaya mantra, the mantra of 2 sentences, Sriman Narayana Charano, Sharanam Prapadye, Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. And the Charama Sloka, meaning the Krishna Charama Sloka from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66, Sarva Dharman Parichaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Yishyami Masuchaha. Right? So those are the 3 Rahasyas, the 3 secrets. And as such, the understanding of the Rahasya Trayam is very important for Mumukshus. Who's a Mumukshu? There's 2 types of people. There's Mumukshus and Bubukshus. Bubukshus are people who are interested in material enjoyment. Mumukshus are those who are interested in liberation. And again, liberation is the eternal service of Sriman Narayana in Vaikuntha. So, the origin of Rahasya Trayam, meaning the 3 Rahasyas, is as follows. The Tiru mantra, right, also known as Periya Tiru mantram. Periya Tiru mantram, Periya means big in Tamil. So it means the big. When we say Periya, it means big or more important or most important. So the most important Tiru mantra out of all mantras, right, and is also called the Mula mantra, originated in Badri. Badri meaning Badrikashrama in the northern Himalayas in India. It was taught by Nara, so the rishi called Nara. It was taught to Nara, the rishi Nara, by Narayana. So there was a Narayana rishi and a Nara rishi, Nara Narayana rishis, and Narayana was the guru, and Nara was the student, the teacher and the student. Dwaya, who is also, which is also known as the mantra Ratnam. So first of all, we have the Mula mantra, or the Periya Tira mantra, or the Astakshara, or the Tira mantra, right? That is Om Namo Narayanaya. Secondly, we have the Dwaya mantra, right? The other name for the Dwaya mantra is the mantra Ratnam, or the jewel of all mantras. Was revealed to Sri Mahalakshmi in Vishnu Loka by Sriman Narayana. So this is just like the Guru Parampara, starting off with Sriman Narayana, and next going to Mahalakshmi, and then to Vishvaksena, or Senai Mudliya, and then to Namalwar, and so on. So that is the origin of the Dwaya mantra. It was spoken by Sriman Narayana to Mahalakshmi in Vaikuntha. The Charma Sloka is part of Bhagavad Gita, and as such was told to Sri Arjuna by Sri Krishna. So Sri Krishna told the Charma Sloka to Arjuna as part of the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, the originator of all three Rahasyas is the Supreme Lord Sriman Narayana. So the origin of the origin of the Tira mantra is Narayana in the form of Narayana Rishi in Bhadrakashram. The origin of the Dwaya mantra is Sriman Narayana in Vaikuntha to Mahalakshmi, told to Mahalakshmi, and Sriman Narayana in the form of Lord Krishna, right, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, told Arjuna the Krishna Charma Sloka, right. Therefore, he is the first Acharya in the Guru Parampara. So this is absolutely normal that in any Parampara, right, all the Paramparas start with the Supreme Lord. They all start with Sriman Narayana. Any Vaishnava Parampara starts with Sriman Narayana as God and continues. It is thus that Sri Kuradalwan is also called Kuresha, and he was the main disciple, one of the main disciples of Ramanujacharya, right, has said, and thus that Sri Kuradalwan has said, Lakshmi Nata Samarambam, Nata Yamuna Madhyamam, Asmaracharya Pariyantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. So this is a Taniyan or a Pranam mantra, which was written by, was authored by Kuradalwan or Kuresha, and he speaks about Lakshmi Nata Samarambam, that he says, Vande Guru Paramparam, I offer my respects to the Parampara, Lakshmi Nata Samarambam, that starts with Lakshmi Nata, the Lord of Lakshmi. The Lord of Lakshmi is Sriman Narayana, right? So it includes Lakshmi, Narayana, and then Lakshmi. Lakshmi Nata Samarambam, Nata Yamuna Madhyamam, in the middle, Madhyamam, is Nata Muni and Yamunacharya, right? So after Namalwar, we have Nata Muni, right? After Nata Muni, after a couple of acharyas, we have Yamunacharya, his grandson, and then after Yamunacharya, after one more acharya, Mahapurna, we have Ramanuja, and then he says, Asmadacharya Padiyantam. Padiyantam means at the end, coming before me, my acharya, Asmadacharya, my acharya, meaning Ramanuja, Asmadacharya Padiyantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. I offer my respects, he says, so says Kuradalwan, to that Guru Parampara that starts with Sriman Narayana, in the middle has Nata Muni and Yamunacharya, and has my acharya, Ramanuja, at the end. That's his idea of his parampara. So that is the Taniyan or the Pranam mantra, which is very common. It's common Pranam mantra used by both Wadagalis and Tengalis. Now, Wadagalis and Tengalis normally, when they chant the Pranam mantras of the Guru Parampara, which is called Sloka Parampara, there's two methods of chanting the Parampara. One method is to chant the Vakya Parampara, where you just chant the names of the different acharyas. and you put Namaha at the end, Asmadacharya, like Asmad Guru Namaha, Asmad Parama Guru Namaha, Asmad Sarva Guru Namaha, Srimati Ramanuja Namaha, Srimati Pankushadasa Namaha, Srimati Munumani Namaha, etc., going all the way back to the Supreme Lord Shri Namaha, Sri Dharaya Namaha, right? And the other way is to chant Sloka Parampara, where you chant, first of all, if you're a Tengalai, you chant Sri Shailesha Dayapatram, right, which is a mantra, a pranam mantra to Manavala Mahamuni. And if you're a Vadagalai, you chant Ramanuja Dayapatram, Yanavaya Bhushanam, to Vedanta Deshika. And then after that, the second sloka that everybody chants, whether they're Vadagalai or Tengalai, is this sloka by Kuresha, Lakshmi Natha Samanambam, Natha Yamanamadhyamam, Asmaracharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay, so everybody should know this. Everybody should know this Taniyan, this pranam mantra to the Guru Parampara. Now, therefore, this Rahasya Traya, or three secrets, even though short in words, it has very many great, rare, and majestic meanings. And as such, our acharyas have studied it extensively and taught their meanings carefully to their disciples. Prior to Sri Ramanuja, the acharyas guarded the Rahasya Traya and their meanings and taught them exclusively to select disciples only. Prior to Ramanuja. Bhagavad Ramanuja, in his broad mind and large sympathy for those caught in some samsaric cycle, exceeded the norms of the day, and himself and through his disciples taught the Rahasya Traya and their meanings to all who were interested. This is shown in Upadesha Ratnamala as, so I'm not going to attempt to chant any of the Tamil here, but he mentions some Tamil. There's a book called Upadesha Ratnamala which mentions this. From the time of Sri Ramanujacharya, from Sri Ramanuja, the meanings of the Rahasyas were taught, but there is no evidence that during his time their special meanings were recorded in written form by acharyas. There is a possibility that a rahasyarta, rahasyaraya, Vyakyanam, a commentary on the Rahasya Traya, Rahasya Traya Vyakyanam, was made into a grantha or a book by Sri Kuradalwan or Kuresha. Sri Vedanta Deshika, in his Rahasya Traya Saram, in the Charma Sloka section, talks about the Charma Sloka Vyakyanam of Alwan, meaning Kuradalwan. However, if there was such a grantha, it is not available now. So that book, so we don't have that book, but apparently he's making a reference here, P.B. Anangacharya, he's making a reference to Rahasya Traya Saram of Vedanta Deshika, which is, we're reading Mumuksupadi, which is for basically read by Tengalai Sri Vaishnavas, and Vadagalai Sri Vaishnavas will study the Rahasya Granthas of Vedanta Deshika. And Vedanta Deshika, in his magnum opus, his greatest Rahasya Grantha work, called Rahasya Traya Saram, or the essence of the three Rahasyas, the three secrets, right? He mentions in the Charma Sloka section of that book about that Kuradalwan has written about the Charma Sloka. He's written a commentary about the Charma Sloka, but it's not extant. It's not available to us anymore. Sri Bhatta meaning, it says here, Sri Bhatta, who is the son of Kuradalwan. Kuradalwan had two sons, both of them were called Bhatta, Vedavyasa Bhatta and Parasara Bhatta. But when people say Sri Bhatta, they don't normally mean Vedavyasa Bhatta, they normally mean Sri Parasara Bhatta. So when you see somebody called Bhatta, it's without any reference to whether it's Parasara Bhatta or Vedavyasa Bhatta, it means Parasara Bhatta. So Sri Parasara Bhatta, who is the son of Kuradalwan, wrote a composition called Astashloki, or eight verses, which is the essence of Rahasya Trayam, the essence of the three secrets, like that. So we can look at that sometime, and we can understand a little bit more about the that he wrote a very short commentary like this on the three secrets. Even though this composition is short, Bhatta has included it in it tremendous meanings of these mantras, of the three mantras. Sri Pillai Lokacharya, who was the son of Sri Vadakutiravidi Pillai, and again, Vadakutiravidi means the northern holy street around the temple. So Pillai, of course, means son. So he was the person who was born in the northern street around the temple, and who is considered an avatar of Sri Varadarajan. So here he's saying that Sri Pillai Lokacharya is considered to be an avatar of Sri Varadarajan. Varadarajan means the Lord in the temple in Kanchi, very famous temple of Devaraj Perumal in Kanchipuram. That deity is called Varadaraja Perumal. The word Perumal is Tamil, for Lord Vishnu. So normally when we talk about different forms of the Lord, of Lord Sriman Narayana, we'll say such and such Perumal, such and such Perumal. Like in Sri Rangam, we have Nam Perumal, which is the Utsava Murti, the small processional deity of the Lord, which means our Lord. And we also have Periya Perumal, or Big Lord, the big Lord who is lying down, the Mulamurti of Sri Ranganatha. So in every situation, we refer to the Lord as Perumal in Tamil. So Sri Varadaraja Perumal is in Kanchipuram, Vishnu Kanchipuram. Yeah, so there are two sections to Kanchipuram. In the town, there's one section where most of the Shaivites live and one section where all the Vaishnavas live. So there's Vishnu Kanchi and there's Shiva Kanchi. So it's also called Little Kanchi. There's Big Kanchi and Little Kanchi. The biggest section is the Shaivite section, actually. So Big Kanchi is Shiva Kanchi and Little Kanchi is Vishnu Kanchi. And you don't really know, these days you just go there and it's just called Kanchipuram. And there are temples spread out all over the place. But the main temple of Vishnu is the Varadaraja Perumal temple, the biggest temple. And the main temple of Shiva is the Ekambeshwara temple of Lord Shiva. So they're the two main temples. There are other temples too, many other temples. Okay, so what he's saying here is, he's saying that Pillai Lokacharya was considered to be an avatar of Varadaraja Perumal, has composed the Astadasa Rahasyam. Astadasa Rahasyam means, Astadasa means 18. So he has 18 different works on the secret mantras, out of which one of them is Mumuksupadi. So, which is a phenomenal collection of the meanings of the Rahasya Granthas, or the secret books. Later, Sri Achan Pillai also wrote Rahasya Arthas, or secret meanings, through the works such as Paranta Rahasyam. So there's a book called Parasya Rahantam, written by Sri Achan Pillai. Almost amongst the Astadasa Rahasyas, amongst the 18, Yadrichukapadi, Parantapadi. This word padi, when you see padi at the end of it, padi refers to verses. So, and Shriya Pati Padi contain the meanings of the Rahasya Traya Vyakyanams. Vyakyanams means the commentaries on the three secrets. But it is Mumuksupadi that gained fame in many ways. So there are out of these 18, there are many other ones that are still available, but the Mumuksupadi became the most famous of them. The other granthas suffer from drawbacks. So these other books have some drawbacks, such as being too extensive or being very short, right? So sometimes this is considered to be a drawback if a book is too long or too short, right? If it's too short, it might be too obtuse. It may be too difficult to understand. If it's too long, then it may be, I don't know what the drawback would be, except that it draws out the subject matter longer than it needs to be. Or they contain a mixture, that they contain a mixture of Sanskrit and Tamil words. So I don't really understand this, because all of those Rahasya Granthas are mostly written in Mani Pravala, which is a mixture of Sanskrit and Tamil. It's basically Sanskrit words with Tamil endings, Sanskritized Tamil. Mumuksupadi does not have any of these drawbacks, according to P.B. Anangacharya here. Also, this work contains special and rare meanings that are not present in some of the other books, some of the other granthas. Thus, this work occupies a special place in the Purvacharya works, the works of the previous acharyas, and in the minds of Sri Vaishnavas. So then he finishes this page. Pilalokacharya Tiruvadi Gale Sharanam. Sharanam means I surrender unto. Tiruvadi Gale. Tiruvadi means the holy feet, the lotus feet of. And Gale means at is plural. Tiruvadi Gal is plural, and Tiruvadi Gale means at the lotus feet of Pilalokacharya. So Pilalokacharya Tiruvadi Gale Sharanam, and Alwar Emberamanna Jir Tiruvadi Gale Sharanam. That means I also surrender unto the feet of Alwar, meaning Namalwar, Emberamanna, meaning Ramanuja, and Jir, meaning Malavala Mahamuni. So unto their lotus feet, I also surrender. So we'll continue on with, let's go to the next page. Right, the next page is the first Churna. So what I'll do is, first of all, we'll read the Churna and we'll have a look at this. The Churna, or the Churnika, right, is the first sutra in Mani Pravala of, and here we'll read the first one of Mumuksupadi Sarata Dipika. So the first is, there are three rahasyas three secrets that one who craves moksha or liberation has to know for sure. So that's the first definition here. First thing that everybody should know is there are three mantras or three rahasyas, and somebody who wants liberation has to definitely know them. So Sri P.B. Anangacharya Swami's Sarata Dipika commentary on this is, a being who has lost interest in this world. Remember, we talked about two types of people. There's mumukshus who want moksha, who have his lost interest in this world. He wants to serve the Supreme Lord in Sri Vaikuntha. And there's other type of being called a bubukshu, who wants to simply enjoy this world and stay in this world. Bubukshu. So person who's a mumukshu and has the sole wish of reaching Sriman Narayana's feet is known as a mumukshu. So he's giving, first of all, a definition. Who is a mumukshu? A mumukshu is a person who's lost interest in this material world of samsara and whose sole wish is reaching Sriman Narayana's lotus feet. That person is known as a mumukshu. So such a person has to most assuredly know three rahasyas. Has to know these three secrets, these three secret mantras. Each person has to know the nature of the self, the means, and the purpose. These three are explained by the three rahasyas, rahasya trayam. And as such, mumukshus have to understand these three rahasyas. The rahasya trayam are Tira mantra, Dvaya mantra, and Charma sloka. The word mumukshu comes from a combination of moktum, itchu. Itchu means to desire, and moktum or moksham, right, means moksha. So those who desire moksha are mumukshus. That is one who desires liberation from the samsaric cycle. So let's also look at what at the other version here. So the Tira mantra. We're starting with the Tira mantra. The Lord The Lord of all, the husband of Shri, whom the eternally freed souls enjoy, the Lord of all and husband of Shri, whom the eternally free souls enjoy, lives in Sri Vaikunta in unsurpassed bliss. Yet he becomes very disturbed thinking of the destitute state of the Chaitanas, or the souls, in samsara. For even though they have a right to live in communion with the Lord, like those eternally free souls, Nityasuris, they who enjoy constant service. They have lost that right and are lying as if non-existent, described as indeed non-existent. While they are lying like birds with broken wings, bereft of limbs and organs, he grants them limbs and organs, not so that they can wander away, but to enable them to take refuge in him and be saved. For the same reason, he promulgates the revealed authored Apurusheya, eternally flawless and self-authoritative Veda, right? So he propagates the Vedas, along with the Smritis, Itihasas, Puranas, etc., all the different scriptures, which explain and elaborate it, explain the Veda and elaborate it. Even then, since many qualifications must be met to study these scriptures, it is difficult for the souls, again, the word Chaitana, Chit or Chaitana means conscious beings, to gain knowledge and salvation by means of them, by means of the scriptures. Bearing this in mind, the Lord thought, we must make it so that they can learn the essential import of all the scriptures in a compact form. So the Lord himself became an acharya and revealed the three rahasyas, or secrets, which explain the soul's nature, swarupa. Swarupa means his own form, his nature, the means of salvation, upaya, and the goal, purushartha, as they are. Of these rahasyas, he revealed the Tiru mantra to Nara, who is a partial incarnation or amsa of himself in Sri Bhadrikashrama. The Dwaya he revealed to his queen, the goddess Pirati. When we say Perumal, we mean the Supreme Lord Sriman Narayana. When we say Pirati, we mean the goddess. Pirati means goddess, and the goddess is, there. Of course, the Supreme Lord has different goddesses. He has different consorts, Sri Bhu Nila. But in this case, it means Sri Devi, Sri Mahalakshmi, and she's known by this name, Pirati. The goddess Pirati in Sri Vaikunta. That's where the Dwaya mantra was revealed. The Charma Sloka he revealed to his supplicant, Arjuna, in the chariot during the discussion they had, which is called the Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. For this reason, the Lord is named in the beginning when reciting the line of teachers, Guru Parampara. So as we state the Guru Parampara, as we chant the Guru Parampara, the Lord comes in the beginning. So just as P.B. Rangacharya was saying, that in that sloka, which describes the Parampara, Lakshminatha comes first, Lakshminatha Samarambham. So with the words, I praise the line of teachers beginning with the Lord of Lakshmi, up to our Acharya with Natha Muni and Yamuna in the middle. So this is she's also explaining this verse. Subsequently, even though the words of the Rahasyas are easily understood, right? So what he's saying is that anybody with a little bit of Sanskrit knowledge can understand the words of the Astakshara mantra, the Tira mantra, the Dwaya mantra, and the Charma sloka. The meaning has to be gained by instruction. So the deeper esoteric meaning has to be understood by going deeply into it and hearing from the acharyas. It is only after understanding this meaning that one can be saved. So not just by giving the mantra, but not just by giving these mantras, but by understanding the meaning of the mantras. Therefore, Pilalokacharya, with his supreme mercy, clearly and understandably revealed through this book the special meanings of those rahasyas gained from the line of instruction from the former acharyas. He had already composed 3 books on the 3 rahasyas, but the Yadrichapati is too short, the Parantapati was too long, right? So remember, this P.B. Anangacharya also was mentioning this, but he didn't say which one was short and which one was long exactly. So here he's being told that the Yadrichapati, Richikapati, was too short and the Parantapati was too long, and the Shriyapati, though it had neither of these 2 faults, was full of Sanskrit quotes, such as that women and uneducated persons, when he says uneducated persons, he means people who can't understand Sanskrit fully, right? Could not study it or could not understand it. So there's nothing really wrong. It's not too short or too long, this Shriyapatipati book, but it's full of many Sanskrit verses. And so therefore he felt, Pilalokacharya, the author of Mumuksupadi, felt that he should write another book which could more easily be understood by the normal Tamil-speaking person, like that. So he wrote Mumuksupadi in a Manipravala style. So, therefore, with a desire to compose one more book which would avoid these 3 faults, he wrote this book, the Mumuksupadi, after all the others. As a result, everyone has been studying this book rather than any other. Furthermore, since there are some special meanings presented in this book, which are not found in the previous books, it is preferred by everyone. Okay, so this is exactly what P.B. Anangacharya was saying. So now we come to the first Truna, the first sutra. So we'll just call them sutras from now. The first sutra. The aspirant for moksha, mumukshu, needs to know the 3 rahasyas. A mumukshu is one who has a desire for moksha, formed from the root much, to release. This word means one in whom a desire for release from samsara has arisen. Even though one who has a desire for attaining the Atman, also has the quality of being a mumukshu, he is not referred to here, right? Even though one who has a desire for attaining the Atman, no, not somebody who's simply interested in self-realization, but somebody who wants actual liberation in the sense of service to Sriman Narayana in Vaikuntha eternally. He's not referred to here. He has no need to know the 3 rahasyas. So somebody who just wants impersonal liberation, which is sometimes called Sayuja Mukti, but we might more properly call it as Kaivalya. Kaivalya means isolation, a type of isolation, eternal isolation, and experience of Brahmananda, or the bliss of Brahman, or the bliss of the self. Doesn't need this. He doesn't need the 3 rahasyas. For him, Omkara may be enough, or whatever it is. Anyway, but these mantras are meant for a person who is really a mumukshu, and the person who is Mumukshu, according to the author here, Pilalokacharya, is more somebody who wants the eternal service of the Lord in Vaikuntha, a positive type of personal liberation. Therefore, by the word Mumukshu, the author desires one who means one who has a desire for the cessation of samsara due to the desire to attain the Lord, right? Due to the desire to attain the Lord, meaning the service of the Lord. Excuse me. Saying that such a person needs to know the three rahasyas means that since he has to know the soul's essential nature, swarupa, the means, upaya, and the goal, purushartha, and since these three rahasyas explain them correctly, he needs to know them. Right. So what he really needs to know is he needs to know the true essential nature of the soul, and the important aspect of this, the most important aspect, I think we discussed this before, the most important aspect of the soul's essential nature is that he's completely dependent and subservient to the Supreme Lord. The means, of course, is the Lord ultimately, and the goal is the service of the Lord, right? And since these three rahasyas explain them correctly, he needs to know them. So that's why he needs to know these three rahasyas, and for no other reason, right? Indeed, it is said the mumukshu must obtain the threefold knowledge of himself, of the way of attainment, prapaka. Prapaka, there's two things. There's prapaka and prapya. So prapaka means the way of attainment, just like upaya, the means, and the goal to be attained, prapya. The goal is upeya. So there's upaya and upeya, the means and the goal, and there's prapaka and prapya, the means and the goal. So these are just two other Sanskrit words for the means and the goal. Prapaka and prapya. His reference to the three rahasyas will be clear later on when he says that these are the Tira mantra, Dwaya mantra, and Chanamasoka. These are called rahasyas because they're supreme secrets explaining the essential meaning of the entire Vedanta. Thus, with this sentence, he has specified the adhikari and what he is to know. The adhikari means the person who is qualified. The person who is qualified is not the person who simply wants to enjoy eternal, unending bliss of the self in isolation from everybody else or from the Supreme Lord. That is Kaivalya. That person, the Kaivalyarti, the person who's interested in Kaivalya, he doesn't need these. He isn't qualified for these, for this understanding, right? But the person who is sick of this material world because he wants to attain the eternal service of Sriman Narayana, that person is qualified. He is the adhikari, and he has to know these things. He has to know these three secrets. Then, as to the question, which of these three secrets is the first one? He answers, right? So we'll go back to P.B. Anangacharya and see what he says about that. Amongst the three, this is the second sutra, amongst the three rahasyas, the first rahasya, or the first secret that the mumukshu has to know is the Tiruvastakshara Mahamantra. Tiru means Shri, or holy. Tiru, it says Tiruvastakshara because that's a sandhi. Tiru Astakshara, when it comes together, you put a V there. Tiruvastakshara, the 8 syllable. Astakshara means 8 syllable. Mahamantra, the great mantra, which is the holy 8 syllable great mantra. Okay, Sri P.B. Anangacharya's commentary on that is, amongst the three mantras that a mumukshu has to know, the very first one he has to understand is the Tiruvastakshara, known as the Tirumantram. The reason that this has to be learnt first is that only after the meanings of the self are understood can one understand the meanings of the means and the goal. So remember, we're talking about these three things here. We have to understand the swarupa, the actual essence of the self, the essential nature of the self. Second, we have to understand the means, how to attain liberation. We have to know who we are. We have to know who God is. God is the means, right? And we have to know what the goal is. The goal is the eternal service of God. So the first thing is to know the essence of the self, or self-realization. Therefore, the Tira mantra, which explains the nature of the self, has to be learned ahead of the other two rahasyas. So the Tira mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, Astakshara mantra, has to be learned before the Dwaya mantra and Charmasloka, which explain the means and the goal. The Dwaya mantra especially explains the means. And but anyway, all of them explain all of these things. But specifically, he's saying here in his purport to this particular thing, this particular sutra, number 2, is that you should learn the Astakshara mantra first and its meaning. A jiva is enslaved to the Lord. He is dependent on the Lord, and he enjoys nothing but his association with the Lord. This is the understanding of the self. Tira mantra, which explains this meaning, is therefore to be learned first. The Tira mantra has 2 parts, right? So we can divide it up into 2 parts. Even though it's got 8 syllables, we can divide it into 2 parts. The pranavam and the mantra shesham. Mantra shesham, shesha just means the rest of the mantra, the end of the mantra, shesha. So the pranavam means omkara, right? Pranava, omkara, right? The pranava is a mystic syllable which represents the Vedas, right? And the mantra shesham would be, in this sense, Namo Narayanaya. So you have Om and you have Namo Narayanaya. So that you can break up the Tira mantra into 2 sections, he's saying. Om and Namo Narayanaya. So Omkara is the pranavam and Namo Narayanaya is the mantra shesham. Okay? So we can remember that. If any time we refer to the pranava, we mean Omkara. Whenever we say mantra shesham, we mean Namo Narayanaya. The pranavam is expanded upon by mantra shesham. So the pranavam has a meaning by itself, and that meaning is expanded or explained more in depth by the mantra shesham. So Omkara has its own meaning, and Namo Narayanaya expands on the meaning of Omkara. So in fact, the mantra, the essence of the meanings are all there in Omkara itself. But just to expand upon it, we have Namo Narayanaya, the mantra shesham. So mantra shesham is expanded upon by the Dwaya. Okay? So Omkara is explained, the meaning of Omkara, everything is there in the meaning of Omkara. The meaning of Omkara is expanded by Namo Narayanaya. Now, that in turn is expanded by the Dwaya mantra. The Dwaya mantra. And the Dwaya mantra is expanded upon by the Charmasloka. So each one of them is an elaboration of the previous one. So we have the pranava, the mantra shesha, making up the Astakshara mantra or Tira mantra. Then we have the Dwaya mantra and the Charmasloka. So by this order, also, the Tira mantra has to be learned first. So when we understand this, when we understand that Omkara is elaborated in Namo Narayanaya, the pranava is elaborated in the mantra shesha, and that the mantra shesham is elaborated in the Dwayam, and the Dwayam is elaborated in the Charmasloka, then we understand that the first thing to know is the Tira mantra, and the first part of the Tira mantra to know is the pranava, the Omkara. Okay. The word mantram is obtained from the word mantaram triate, that which protects those who recite it. Right? Triate means to cross over or to deliver. And manaha means mind. So mantranam, mantaram, triate, that that which protects those who recite it. The protection is of two types. Okay. So any mantra, the word mantra, the mantra means that which protects that those who recite it. So the protection is in two ways. One is via the sound of the mantra. So by reciting the mantra protects us. The second way is the meaning of the mantra. The meaning of the mantra protects us. So simply meditating on the meaning of the mantra, that also protects us. So how does a mantra protect you? It protects you in two ways. It protects you when you chant it, and it protects you when you understand its meaning. So the best thing is to know its meaning and to also chant it. Do both. The benefits are obtained by those who recite it and use it for homas or for fire ceremonies or for different types of rituals, right? Archana or whatever, worship of the Lord. The benefits are obtained by those who recite it or use it for homas. And use it for homas is obtained via the power of the sound of the Tira mantra. The benefit accrued to the prapanas. Prapanas are people who perform propati. Propati means sharanagati or surrender at the feet of the Lord, right? So a prapana is not, we can call them devotees, but really they're not devotees. They're refugees, people who take refuge at the feet of the Lord. So the benefit accrued to the refugees at the feet of the Lord, the refugees or the prapanas, who look for nothing but the Lord, right? For nothing but the Lord and his service, is obtained by the power of the meaning of the Tira mantra. So there might be other people who chant the mantra, who chant the Om Namo Narayana mantra. For instance, even in other sampradayas like Madhva Sampradaya, they chant the name. Some other people may also chant the Astakshara mantra like that. But it is the people in the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya who've taken to the system of property, of actual surrender to the Lord and taking refuge and becoming a refugee at his feet, who gain the power by the meaning of the Tira mantra. So others can also gain, benefits by simply chanting and using the Tira mantra in rituals, right? So there are those two ways. Those two ways of attaining, of getting, of having the mantra protect you. The second meaning here, which is that people are protected by the meaning of the Tira mantra, and not just by its chanting, is explained by Sri Bhatta, again by Parasar Bhatta, in his Asta Shloki, in his 8 verses, as follows. If a person thinks that his body is the same as his soul, then he should look at the makaram of the pranava. So a person who thinks that his body is the same as his soul is a materialist. This is one of the first things that Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains to Arjuna, is that Tehenoshmin yata dehe komaram yobaram chara. He teaches him that you are not this body, you are the eternal soul within the body, and you are separate from the body. That the body is made of bhumi, rapo, nalo, vayu. It's made of different earth, water, fire, air, ether, different elements, mind, intelligence, ego, and those are bina prakriti. Those are my separated energies. These are bina. They're separated. So they're separated from you, and they're separated from me, because they're material, they're insentient, and you are sentient. You're Chaitana, or Chit, Shakti, and those things are Achit, or insentient things, Achaitanas, right? So that's the very first thing that Krishna explains, is you're not the body, you are the eternal spiritual soul. Right. So here, a person who's a materialist doesn't understand that. He thinks that he is the body, that the body, the mind, the intelligence, the ego, they are him. That is that he is that mind, he is that ego, right? He thinks that. So he should look at the letter M, the makara. Kara means a sign in Sanskrit, just like we have this word swastikara. Swasti means auspicious, kara means sign. So if I say akara, it means the letter A. If I say makara, it means the letter ma, or the letter M. The letter M coming in the omkara. Omkara is made of 3 letters, right? If we look in the Narayana Upanishad, it says akara, ukara, makara, iti, right? Omkara is made of akara, ukara, and makara, A-U-M, om. So, a-u-ma. The M in om, right, represents the individual jiva, the individual chetana or chit, right, the individual soul. So, what he says is saying here, what Sri Bhatta is saying here in his Astashloki, is that a person who thinks that he is the body, right, a materialist, should look to the M in the pranava. Since it talks about the soul with knowledge, he would understand the knowledgeless body cannot be the same as the soul. Since it talks about the soul with knowledge, he would understand that the knowledgeless body, the body has no knowledge. A body by itself has no knowledge without the soul. It cannot be the same as the soul. Even if one understands this, he may mistake the soul, right? So the first thing that we find is we find that there are people who think the body and the soul are the same. So we have to reject this idea because the body doesn't have any knowledge, doesn't have any consciousness in itself. Without the soul, it doesn't have any consciousness. There is no consciousness manifest in the body without the soul, right? But then he says, even if one understands this, he may mistake the soul as not dependent on the Lord and think that it is fully independent. So somebody may accept that there is a soul. They may accept that there is consciousness within the body, but they look in the body and they see, oh, there's some consciousness there. But that consciousness, that individual consciousness, is all that there is. There is no super soul. There is no paramatman there in the body. There is only the atman, the individual soul. There is no paramatma. So somebody looks at so that's the second mistake. The first mistake is to think the body and the soul are the same. The second mistake would be to say, even if I think that there is a individual consciousness within the body, that's all there is. There is no supreme consciousness also. There is no paramatman. There is only the atman, the individual soul, and there's no paramatman. So if we think that there's only the atman and no paramatman, then we think that the atman is completely independent. Right? The atman must be therefore completely independent. This is the second mistake that somebody might have. Right? The soul is not dependent on the Lord and think that the soul is fully independent. Now, what do we call independent? Independent means swatantra, independent. And in fact, the Lord is independent. He's the only one who's independent. He is the only one who's swatantra. And everybody else is dependent, or in Sanskrit, paratantra. Swatantra means independent. Paratantra means dependent. So everyone is paratantra. Everybody is dependent on the Lord, who is the only person who is swatantra. Okay. So then such a person should look at the akara, the A in the pranava, right? So a person who thinks like that, the first person thinks the body and soul are the same. He should look at the M in Omkara, because the M in the Omkara only emphasizes the soul, right? Only emphasizes the soul. And the second person should look at the A. If the first person doesn't think there's a soul, he just thinks the body is the soul. He mistakes the body for the soul, right? So therefore, he should look to the M, because the M in Omkara explains about the soul. So then he'll be convinced that there's a soul by looking at the M in Omkara. Then once he knows that there's a soul, he might think that the soul is the only thing. Then the second person, with that mistaken understanding that the soul is completely independent, he should look at the A, because the A indicates Lord Vishnu, indicates Sriman Narayana. And therefore, once he understands the A, he'll understand that no, he's subservient to Lord Narayana. Does that make sense? So the Akaram emphasizes that the souls are enslaved to the Lord, and therefore he will be cleared of his error. So the person, just to summarize again, the person who thinks the body and the soul are the same, the materialist, completely non-spiritualist, atheist or agnostic, he is mistaken, and therefore, but by the letter M, the knowledge that comes out of understanding the letter M in Om, right, clears him of that doubt, and therefore he understands from that letter that he is the soul, and that the Atman, the Jivatman that exists, the consciousness within the body. That person may think that the soul is all in all, that there is nothing else, there is no super soul, that the soul is completely independent. That person, the next thing that he needs that error to be fixed. And by meditating upon or understanding the knowledge that comes from the letter A in Omkara, right, he will therefore understand that the Lord, which is represented by the letter A, right, is his master, and he is completely enslaved to the Lord, and he's completely the servant of the Lord. So Akaram emphasizes that the souls are enslaved by the Lord, and therefore he will be cleared of his error. If he understands, continuing on, if he understands that the soul is enslaved to the Lord, but he thinks that it is similarly enslaved to others, right? So here's the next delusion. The first delusion is thinking the mind and the body are one with the soul. The second illusion is, after understanding the soul is different from matter, is to think the soul's independent from God. So thirdly, if you think that second person understands that he's indebted to the Lord, he's enslaved to the Lord, but he may also think that he's enslaved to many others. He might also think, I'm dependent upon many others, right? Which is a fact which is commonly seen in this world, right? Then he has to look to the Ukara, the letter U in the Pranava, right? The U letter, which represents Lakshmi, Mahalakshmi, right, is going to explain to him. He said this Ukara shows that the souls are enslaved only, because remember, later on we're going to hear this in more detail. The letter U in Omkara not only means Mahalakshmi, but it means also, the second meaning is that the soul is only enslaved to the Lord and nobody else, right? It shows that the soul is only enslaved to the Lord and nobody else, right? So that person who thinks that he might be enslaved to the Lord, he might be a servant of the Lord, but he's also serving many other masters. No, this is not true. You're not serving other masters. Your only service should be to Sriman Narayana. And that's explained by the letter U in the Omkara, right? So this Ukara shows that the souls are enslaved only to Sriman Narayana, and as such, he would correct his mistake, right? That's the next mistake. A person who understands all of this might still think that his own effort is sufficient to protect himself, right? Now we're talking about people who actually they're not materialists. They understand the soul is not the body, right? They understand that there's a supreme Lord. They understand that their supposed to serve the Supreme Lord. They understand not only that they're not supposed to serve anybody else, but only the Supreme Lord. They're Vaishnavas. They're people who are want to serve the Supreme Lord, but they somehow or other commit the next mistake. The next mistake is that they think that their efforts, their own efforts, can perfectly allow them to serve the Supreme Lord. So a person who understands all this might think that his efforts are sufficient to protect himself. To protect yourself or to save yourself or to retain liberation, your own efforts are sufficient, right? So either you perform karma yoga, jnana yoga, or bhakti yoga, but whatever you do, your efforts are going to save you, right? So that person who understands Omkara, he understands the Makara, the M, right? He understands the A, and he understands the U, right? He understands all those things and the concepts from those things, but he still thinks that by his own efforts, he can protect himself or attain liberation. Such a person should next look at the term Namaha, the next word. So he's looked at M, he's looked at A, he's looked at U, right? So he's looked at Omkara. Now he should look at Namaha. The next word of the Tira mantra is Namaha. So he should look at Namaha. This term shows that the protection of the souls is the duty of the Lord and not of the self. Na-maha. Na-ma, not me. Na-maha means not me. Na means not, ma means me, right? So it is not his duty to protect himself. It is not his duty to perform the actions which will protect himself, right? Even though in Vedanta, we understand that the soul, it can be a doer. The soul can have independence, minute independence, and can have minute doership. Still, it is not the duty of the soul to protect himself. It is the duty of the Lord and no one else. Na-mama, namaha, right? So the word namaha means not mine. It's not my duty, right? If a person begins to develop great attachment to people surrounding him, his wife, his children, his relatives, then he should look at the term Narayana. Narayana is the next term, right? So the mistake we just talked about is the person who may even be a Vaishnava, but he thinks that his own efforts are going to save him or protect him, right? That person has to look to the term Namaha or Namo in the Astakshara mantra. He has to look at Namo, right? If he thinks his efforts can save him, right? Now, secondly, you have a person who thinks, okay, maybe it's not me alone, my efforts alone that are saving me, but it's also all these other people, my wife, my children, my relatives, all of our efforts together, they might be saving us. They might, in other words, maybe I can't make it by myself, but maybe along with my wife and my relatives and everyone else, maybe our efforts totally together, that can protect us and that can save us, right? He should look to the term Narayana, which is the name of the Lord, which comes as the next part. So Om Namo Narayana. So Narayana, this teaches him that Sriman Narayana is the one and all relation to the and only relation and all relation to the soul, right? So Narayana is actually the only one whose effort will save the soul, will protect the soul. A person who becomes attached to things of this world, right? So even then, even if we think, okay, my efforts, the efforts of others, or if I'm attached to my wife and to my relatives and my children, like that, right? If I give all that up, all those mistaken ideas, right? By seeing the word Narayana, I give up that idea because I only become dependent on the Supreme Lord, right? then still, if I'm attached to some other things in this material world, then I should look to the ending on Narayana, Aya, the ending Aya, right, which is in Sanskrit called the Chaturthi Vibhakti, or the fourth case ending, which means the dative case ending, which means 2 or 4 Narayana. Narayanaya means 2 or 4 Narayana, Lord Narayana, Shiva Narayana. As this term signifies eternal service. So the Aya is emphasizing service. The Aya is emphasizing that we are meant for Narayana. We are meant to offer to Narayana, our services to Narayana or for Narayana. That term signifies the eternal service to the Lord is the purpose of the soul, An attachment to other things, any other thing in this material world, any material thing, or even any other sentient being like wife, children, relatives, that has to be given up, because only to the Supreme Lord is our attachment supposed to be there, right? So a person, this teaches him that Sriman Narayana is the one and only relation to the soul. A person who becomes attached to the things of this world should look at Aya, Chaturthi Vibhakti, as this term signifies the eternal service to the Lord is the purpose for the soul. Attachment to other things will be broken. The Tira mantra that contains these meanings is therefore to be learned first and is the refuge of all properness. So all refugees at the feet of the Lord, should first of all learn this Om Namo Narayanaya, along with its meaning, which was just given here in a nutshell, right? And let's go back to the other share. So here we have again the second sutra. Among them, the first rahasya is the Tira mantra. Among the 3 rahasyas, the first is to be known by the adhikari. Adhikari means that person who's qualified. We already talked about who's qualified. The person who's qualified, right, is the Tira mantra, which deals with the nature of the soul as it truly is. Swarupa Vyatatmya, right? Yatatmya means as it is, right? The soul as it is, and which fosters full and perfect wisdom to discriminate between what is to be accepted and what is to be rejected. This mantra aims at explaining the soul's nature as it truly is, for it explains the soul's 3 characteristics. 3 characteristics of, number 1, having subservience to no other, which is called anyarha sheshatva, or you could just say sheshatva, but it means ananyarha sheshatva. Ananya means other, right? Ananya means other. Sheshatva means service, right? So service to another, service to no other is what it means, right? So that's the first quality of the soul, right? Is having subservience to no other but Sriman Narayana. Number 2, having no other refuge, right? Ananya Sharanatva. The difference between Sheshatva and Sharanatva, right, is that Sheshatva means you serve someone else. Sheshatva means we serve the Supreme Lord and no one else, right? Sharanatva means we surrender and take refuge of the Supreme and no one else, right? So it's not that we serve the Supreme Lord, but we take shelter of someone else, or not that we take shelter of someone, or that we take shelter of the Supreme Lord, but serve someone else. No, the essence of the soul is eternal service to Sriman Narayana and no one else, taking shelter of Sriman Narayana and no one else. And number 3, delighting in no other, right? So not only are we serving the Supreme Lord and no one else, we're taking refuge in the Supreme Lord and no one else, and we're enjoying the Supreme Lord and no one else. Ananya bhogyatva, enjoying that eternal service and eternal shelter of the Supreme Lord and no one else. So these are the three most important aspects of the soul, three characteristics. It therefore explains clearly the distinction between what is to be rejected and accepted according to the characteristics of the soul. So once we understand, first of all, when we understand these three aspects of the soul, if we understand these three aspects of the soul, then we'll understand what has to be accepted and what has to be rejected, right? According to these characteristics, right? In the essential nature or svarupa of one who has been well instructed by this mantra will arise the desire for the means and the goal, upaya and upaya, that are explained by the other two mantras, meaning Dwaya mantra and Charmasloka. So, therefore, there is nothing wrong with claiming that Swarupayatatma is the first rahasya, or the first, so that this first rahasya, or this first mantra, again, speaks of Swarupa Yatatmya. It understands it explains the soul as it truly is. It explains the soul as it truly is, the first mantra, the Astakshara mantra. Furthermore, just as the rest of this mantra elaborates the pranava, the dvayam elaborates the rest of the tira mantra, right? So just as this first mantra elaborates the pranava, so Om Namo Narayanaya elaborates the pranava, the omkara, right? The dvaya elaborates the rest of the tira mantra. The rest of the tira mantra is what? Namo Narayanaya. Namo Narayanaya is the mantra shesha, right? If we divide the tira mantra into two, we have the omkara and the mantra shesha, Om and Namo Narayanaya, right? So Namo Narayanaya elaborates omkara. The dvayam elaborates the tira mantra, specifically elaborating the Namo Narayanaya part of the mantra shesha of the tira mantra. The dvayam elaborates the rest of the tira mantra, the mantra shesha. And the charma sloka elaborates the dvayam, right? By this logic, its primacy is established. So the primacy of the Astakshara mantra, tira mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, is established by the logic of the different parts elaborating the other mantras and the other parts of the different mantras. So, bearing all these reasons in mind, he proclaims, the first rahasya is the tira mantra. The first one is the rahasya, is the tira mantra, first secret. It is said, since it protects the verbal root tra or triate, right, to protect or to deliver, right, the one who meditates on it, mantri, right, the one who meditates on it, right, it is called a mantra. Thus, this is called a mantra because it protects the one who meditates on it by both the power of its sound and the realization of its meaning. For one who follows the other paths of moksha, upasaka, an upasaka, right, follows certain upayas or means, different means of moksha, which are karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga, and who uses it in sacred offerings, utterings, and oblations, and the like, japa and homa, etc., right, fire sacrifice or recitation, right, it protects by the power of its sound for a person who's an upasaka. So, for people who are doing karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga, right, they chant the mantras, the Hare Krishna mantra, or Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or even this Om Namo Narayanaya. They chant these sacred mantras, and by the potency of the sound of the mantra, those people are protected, right? It protects them through the power of the sound. For the prapana, this is the difference between an upasaka, or a person who's a bhakti yogi, jnana yogi, kama yogi, right? and a person who's a prapana, who's a refugee at the feet of the Lord, right? The difference is that a prapana, for the prapana who considers the Lord alone to be the means and the goal, the upaya and the upaya, it protects by the power which comes from realizing its meaning. Not the power of chanting it, the power of realizing its meaning, right? So, of course, it has power. By chanting it, there's power, okay? But the more important part of the mantra is realizing the meaning for the prapana. For the upasaka, for the bhakti yogi, just chanting it, the sound of it is more important. For the prapana, the meaning is more important, right? Who considers the Lord alone to be the means and the goal, paya and upaya, it protects by the power which comes from realizing its meaning. When one realizes this meaning, it becomes one's savior or protector. So once you realize that, then it becomes your savior and your protector. Bhatta, Parasara Bhatta again, has said, if he thinks that the soul is the body, the wise prapana should learn the third letter in Om, that is the M. If he is blind with autonomy, meaning he thinks that he's independent, the first, A, he should learn A, which means Lord Vishnu. If he is subservient to another, the second, U, the letter U, which teaches that he's only subservient to the Supreme Lord. If trying to protect himself, right? If trying to protect himself, in other words, if he thinks his own efforts are what is going to protect himself, then he should learn the word namaha. If, in other words, these are all the meanings that you have to learn. If you understand the meanings of all these syllables, letters, and words of the Astakshara mantra, then it becomes your protector. It becomes your savior. If you don't understand the meaning, then you can be an upasaka, you can chant it, and you'll be protected by the sound of it, right? So when you chant it, you're protected by the sound of it. But if you really want to be protected as a prapana, you have to understand the meaning of it, the inner meaning of it. So if he thinks that he can protect himself, like the upasakas they think, the karma yogi, jnana yogis, and bhakti yogis, right? They think that they can protect themselves by their own efforts. So the meaning of namaha explains to them, nama, not me, that they can't do that themselves, right? If hankering after those only who only appear as kinsmen, and why does he say here, Bhatta says only appear as kinsmen? Because in different lifetimes, these people who are your kinsmen now are not your kinsmen, right? Not every lifetime you get the same wife and children and relatives. So if hankering after those who only appear to be kinsmen, the word Narayanaya, he should look at the word Narayanaya and understand that it is Lord Narayana alone who we are related to and we have to relate to. If his mind is involved in worldly matters, right, he's still, even if he doesn't have attachment to wife and children and relatives, still he may have attachment to something in this material world. And if so, by the ayah, by the ending, the dative case ending of the word Narayana, if he understands the full meaning of that, he will understand that he should not involve himself. He should not worry himself about being attached to anything in this material world. Give up that attachment. And again, it means only to Lord Narayana. When we say Narayanaya, it means not to anybody else. Narayanaya means to Narayana or for Narayana. It doesn't mean to anybody else. So it means only to Sriman Narayana and nobody else. Only for Sriman Narayana and nobody else, right? So that's why when we understand Aya, it means only Sriman Narayana. This means that the Tira mantra guides the one who meditates on it to behave in accord with his true nature, right? So understanding this, understanding the Tira mantra is Swarupa Yatatmyam, is understanding the true nature of the soul. And only by understanding the true nature of the soul can we then understand the Lord and understand the Lord's situation as the upaya, as the means, and the goal as being explained, the means being explained in the Dvaya mantra, and the goal being explained in the Charma sloka. So this means that the Tira mantra guides the one who meditates on it to behave in accord with his true nature, making sure that wrong notions such as confusing the body and the soul, dehatmya, dehatma, deha means body, atma, abhimana, dehatma abhimana, right? Self-sufficiency or autonomy, swatantriya, right? These are all mistakes which the soul, the first mistake you make is dehatma abhimana. Dehatma abhimana means thinking the body and the soul to be one thing. Self-sufficiency or autonomy, swatantra, is the second thing. You're not independent, right? Anya sheshatva, being subservient to others than Sriman Narayana, that's the third mistake that we make. Seeking to save oneself by one's own efforts, swarakshane, rakshane means to protect, right? Rakshana. Swarakshane swanaya, thinking that you yourself can protect yourself, right? That's the fourth mistake that people make. And then hankering of sense objects, vishaya pravanya, right? Never occur again. So hankering, so all these things, when we understand all these mistakes, when we understand the truth of the true nature of the soul by the Tira mantra, then we never will make these five mistakes again, and they will never happen again. After these, we understand these things, and we have this understanding with the intention to fully establish this mantra's excellence. He reveals its excellence by stating the special way of meditating on it. Anusandhana krama. Anusandhana means how to meditation. Anusandhana means meditation, and the krama means the method of meditation. So after this, he's going to explain the special method of meditating on the Tira mantra. So we continue on with the third sutra. The third sutra, the meaning is, this Tira mantra has to be recited by giving it the respect due while keeping it hidden from those who are not qualified for it. It has to be recited by giving it due respect, right? The respect due to it, while keeping it hidden from those who are not qualified for it. So P.B. Anangacharya is saying the greatness of the Tira mantra is beginning to be explained from this point on. The first is the correct method of reciting it and keeping it in one's heart. The meanings of the four Vedas, the Rig, the Yajas, the Sama, and the Atharva, are contained within this mantra, and that's also stated in Narayana Upanishad. Right? It is considered to be the best amongst mantras, the best amongst rahasyas, the best amongst the best things, the best of the best. As such, a person holding it in his heart should keep it there and recite it daily with the respect that is due to it, with a melted heart, while withholding it from those who are not qualified to hold it in their hearts. Right? And what does it mean, holding it in your heart? means meditating upon the meaning of the mantra, right? So there are many people who may have this mantra. They may be initiated into this mantra. They may chant this mantra. They may use it for japa. They may use it for homa. They may use it for the worship of a deity, right? Sriman Narayana. But they are thinking things which are contrary. They're those five things. They are thinking these five mistaken understandings that we understood, right? They are thinking five things which this mantra, the meaning, the esoteric meaning of this mantra, expel or eliminate, right? Understanding the esoteric meaning of the mantra dispels these five mistakes that we just talked about. So if you're actually qualified, to keep it in your melted heart, means in your mind, if you know those five mistakes, if you've understood those five things and you actually meditate on this mantra like that, with that understanding, then you're qualified for the understanding of the mantra. So many people may be qualified to chant the mantra, use it for japa, use it for homa, but who's qualified to hold it in their hearts and meditate upon it? Only if we understand the inner meaning. This also means that it should not be recited when the heart is not prepared. So so we said that it is possible to chant it, but it's better to chant it. It's much better to chant it. Even without this realization of the esoteric meaning, you can still chant it and you can still get benefit from it. But at the same time, the best thing is to know the inner meaning, the esoteric meaning, and to then chant it, right? And actually, the Prapana will think, I shouldn't chant this if I don't understand the esoteric meaning. And just like any ritual, we have to understand the inner meaning of the ritual. Otherwise, the ritual really has some value, but it has more value if we understand the esoteric meaning behind it. So similarly with the mantra, we also have to understand these esoteric meanings. Then we can chant. Then we should chant it. And therefore, he's saying, don't chant it if you don't understand the esoteric meanings. The heart is not prepared. The heart is not prepared. So prepare your heart or your mind. Heart means mind, right? In Sanskrit. So prepare your mind, prepare your heart by understanding the true meaning, the esoteric meanings given about the mantra, and then chant it. And it should also not be recited in a loud voice. The reason it's not to be recited here he says it's not to be recited in a loud voice is because other people will hear it, but even if they hear it, they'll chant it, but they don't understand the esoteric meaning. So if they don't understand the esoteric meaning, then they're not chanting it correctly. The correct method, according to this purport, the correct method to chant Astakshara mantra is to first of all understand the meaning, and then to chant it when we feel within our hearts those meanings, those esoteric meanings, that we are not this body, number one, that we are not independent, number two, that our efforts are not the thing that is going to save us, number three, right? Number four, that our friends and relatives and family are not going to help save us, right? And number five, that nothing else in this material world is of any use to our salvation, but only the Supreme Lord. So once we understand all those five things, then we can properly chant the Astakshara mantra. Without understanding those five things, we can't properly chant the Astakshara mantra with a melted heart, as he says here. Melted heart means with the proper understanding in our mind, meditating on the proper meaning, the esoteric, the inner meaning of the Astakshara mantra. We have to have that. And therefore, we should not chant it out loud, because other persons will hear it. They may also chant it, but they don't have the understanding. They don't understand the inner meaning. So they won't be chanting it correctly. So we should not engage other people in chanting the mantra incorrectly. If we at all are going to explain to them how to chant the mantra, then we also have to understand, we also have to explain to them the meaning so that they can also have the right mentality when chanting the mantra. Does that make sense? Okay. So let's go back to and see the third sutra in the other text. Right. So the third sutra, we are now going to explain the special way of meditating upon the mantra, right? So the third sutra says, as benefiting the excellence of the Tira mantra, as befitting the excellence of the Tira mantra, one must reflect on it respectfully with love, right? So that's why he was talking about, P.B. Anangacharya was explaining about with melted heart, right? What does that mean with love, with melted heart? With due respect and due understanding in our minds of the real esoteric inner meaning of the mantra. Not simply just chanting the mantra and thinking of something else, but understanding that when we chant the mantra, we should understand the inner meaning of the mantra. We should be thinking of those things, that I'm not this body, that I am not independent, that I am meant to be the servant of the Supreme Lord only and serve him, right? Serve him and depend upon him and enjoy him only. And that my family, my relatives, my wife and my children, these things cannot help me, and nothing else can help me in this material world but only him. So as long as we can think like that, then we can correctly and properly, respectfully, with love, chant the Tira mantra. The excellence of the Tira mantra lies in the following. And we just described this, but we're going to describe it. We're going to go through both of these. It's going to be a little repetitive here, but if we go over it twice from the two texts, right, we're going to really get the essence of the meaning. We're really going to understand it. The essence of the Tira mantra lies in the excellence of the Tira mantra lies in the following. Number one, it is a summation of all the Vedas. As described in the passage, the Rig, Yajus, Sama, and Atharva are all encompassed in the 8-syllable Tira mantra, and that's quoted. The quote is 7 here. We can look at the end of we'll look at it some other time. But there's a footnote there, but that will probably take us to the Narayana Upanishad, which says that, right? So number 2, it explains all the truths which are to be known, as stated in the hymn, and there's a quote, rather than speaking of other things. And number 3, it's a supreme mantra among mantras, the ultimate secret of secrets, the holiest among the holy, as stated in the passage, quote, the eternal Mula mantra, Tira mantra, is the supreme mantra among mantras, the ultimate secret among secrets, the holiest among the holy. As befitting its excellence means, right? So we see here back in the sutra, it says, as befitting the excellence of the Tira mantra. So the explanation of the first part of the sutra here, as befitting its excellence, means in accord with its great worth. One must reflect upon it respectfully with love, means that when one meditates on it, it should not be done with an empty heart. Right? What does an empty heart mean? It means distracted, right? Thinking of something else, not thinking about the meaning, not thinking about the actual meanings of the mantra, right? It should not be done with an empty heart, but with all the love one has for it in recognition of its excellence. Furthermore, one should respect and cherish it so that this secret of secrets is not heard by those unqualified for it. What do they mean by unqualified for it? Somebody is unqualified for it if he doesn't understand the inner esoteric meanings of it. That's why the esoteric meaning has to be taught. Has to be taught. Otherwise, he's not fit to chant it. Right? Now, as I said, even a materialist can chant Om Namo Narayana and get some benefit. But to actually get the benefit that the prapana wants out of it, to make the Lord the actual means, to make the Lord the actual means of one's liberation, of one's salvation, right? One has to know the meaning of the mantra. So, furthermore, one should respect and cherish it so that this mantra, secrets of secrets, is not heard by those unqualified for it. For it is said, quote, with effort, one should protect the mantra. Right? This, Pilalokacharya says, is the way we have to meditate upon it. Thus ruling that one is not to reflect upon it by any other method. So in other words, he's saying, reflect upon it with a melted heart, reflect upon it, duly thinking about the esoteric meaning. And when he says that, what he means is don't reflect upon it without thinking of that esoteric meaning. And that's why you shouldn't chant it loudly, so that others can hear it, because they're not qualified, because they don't know the esoteric meaning. So this one rule of saying how to chant the mantra, how to meditate upon the mantra, right? This one of how to meditate, the proper method of meditating upon the mantra, means also the proper way of not meditating. The improper way is also to not be done. Okay? So, is it only if one has such love for it that the mantra will succeed? Okay, so the next question comes that Pilalokacharya here has said, you should understand this from the mantra. This is what the mantra means. If you don't understand this, what this means, then you're not going to be chanting the mantra correctly, because you have to meditate on the proper esoteric meaning while chanting the mantra, or while meditating on the mantra, while using the mantra. If you don't know that, you shouldn't be chanting the mantra. You shouldn't be using the mantra as a prapana, right? So then the question comes, so if you don't have such an understanding, if you don't have such love for this mantra, right? Love means the proper understanding within the mind, within the heart, right? Will the mantra still work? Even if you do not have that understanding. So thus he reveals, and now we're going to look at the fourth sutra. So back to Mumuksupadi Sarata Dipika, the fourth sutra. The fourth sutra is, if a person develops great affection and love for this mantra, for the Lord, who is the inner meaning of this mantra, and for the Acharya, who teaches this Tiru mantra, then this mantra will act for him, right? So one has to understand and have love for the mantra, the Lord, who is the inner meaning of the mantra, and the Acharya, who teaches the Tiru mantra. And if we have these if we understand these three things, right, then the mantra will act. In the previous churna or sutra, it was said that a kind and melted heart is needed for the recital of this mantra. If the question arises, Whether that is sufficient, the answer is no. That is not sufficient. It is not just that one has to know these 5 things, right? These 5 esoteric meanings. The mantra's recital has its effect only when there is love for the mantra. Love for the mantra means understanding its essential esoteric meanings, right? For the Supreme Lord Narayana, who is the true meaning of the mantra, right? So not only do you have to know those 5 aspects, 5 essential aspects of the mantra and the esoteric meanings, but you also have to have some love and some understanding of the Supreme Lord, Srimad Narayana, right? As well as for the Acharya, who out of his great kindness taught the mantra to that person. Only then will the mantra have the true effect for the person reciting it. Let's look at the other commentary. One who has abundant love for the mantra, for the subject of the mantra, and for the Acharya who bestows the mantra, it will succeed. Right? So the question was, if we have this, is it only if one has such love? The love previously was described as the understanding of the 5 aspects, the 5 esoteric aspects of the mantra. So the question was, if one only has this love, right, will the mantra succeed? Right? No, you also have to have love for or understanding of the subject of the mantra, the Supreme Lord, and the Acharya. So then it will succeed. One should have abundant love in accord with their respective excellence for the following. Number 1, this mantra which proclaims the truths to be known, right? Which we just discussed the inner truths of it, right? Number 2, the Lord, the one whom the mantra refers to, who should be loved on account of the 3 forms, of his 3 forms, as Sheshi, master, Sharanya, savior, and goal, Prapya, right? Because it was said before, right? This was also said before, that we have to understand the Lord is our master. We have to serve him. He's our savior. We have to surrender to him. And he's our goal. We have to, we love him. We enjoy him. So, and 3, the Acharya who help one and should be loved in proportion to one's love for the mantra, since the mantra is in the hands of the Acharya. So, we love the mantra. Why do we love the mantra? We love the mantra because the mantra explains to us the nature of our soul, the nature of ourselves, right? Swarupa yatatmya. That's why we love the mantra. We love the Lord because the Lord is our master, our savior, and our goal, right? And we love the Acharya because the Acharya is the one who gave us the mantra, which means he gives us the Lord, because the mantra and the Lord are non-different, right? So therefore, he has given us the means and he has given us the goal. So the Acharya has given us everything. That's why we love also the Acharya, because the Acharya has the mantra in his hand. In other words, he is the one who gives the mantra. Not only does he give the mantra, but he also gives the meaning of the mantra. He gives the esoteric, the understanding of the mantra, which is obvious. Up till now, we've discussed that is more important even than the mantra itself, the meaning of the mantra, right? Because the meaning is what is conveyed by the mantra. If you understand the meaning, right, that's the most important thing. So as it is for, at least for proponents, right? The mantra itself is useful for people who are not upasakas, people who are performing karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. It's the mantra is important for everybody, but the inner meaning is most important for the proponents. So as it is said, the mantra is under the control of the knower of Brahman. So there's another quotation here that we can see later on. The mantra is under the control of the knower of Brahman. So the person who's the acharya is said to be the knower of Brahman. The person who knows the Supreme is the acharya, and the acharya has given us the mantra. If one has such abundant love, then this mantra will succeed for him. What does that mean? Such abundant love. He has to have love for the mantra, for the Lord, and the acharya. Okay. As it is said, one should have devotion to these three: the mantra, deity, and the guru who gives the mantra. For this is the primary sadhana. Okay, so this is also a quote from somewhere else. We'll see when we get to the end of this section. After this, by telling how this mantra appeared in the world, he reveals its unsurpassed excellence. So now we're going to talk some more about the excellence of the Tiru mantra. We're going to explain how it appeared in this world, right? So let's continue on with the other text, the fifth sutra. The Buddha Chaitanas who are trapped in this samsaric world forget that they are dasas. They forget that they are servants. Forget that Sriman Narayana is their Lord. That is, they forget that they are Sheshas and he is Sheshi. The word Sheshi means master. Shesha means servant. So just like Dasa means servant, Shesha also means servant. So they forget that. Do not live in the service of the Lord, right? So naturally, if they forget, if the Buddha Jivas, right, the bound souls in this material world, right, in samsaric world, if they've forgotten that they're servants of the Lord, right, if they've forgotten that he's the Supreme Master, then naturally they don't live in the service of the Lord. They don't engage in his service directly. Are not concerned, they are not concerned that they have lost the most valuable thing that they possessed. They have lost the most valuable thing that they possessed. What's the most valuable thing that they possess? It's the service of the Supreme Lord, because that is intrinsic to their nature. That's their intrinsic nature, is to be the servant of the Supreme Lord and no one else. And they've lost that, right? And that is the most valuable thing to them, for them. And stay trapped in this samsaric ocean, which is difficult to cross. So because of all these things, they stay here and they go round and round, birth after birth, in samsara. Seeing this, the Lord, out of his kindness, his nirhetika kripa. Nirhetika kripa means his kindness or his mercy, his grace, which has no cause. Nirhetuka. Hetuka means cause. Nirhetuka means no cause. Due to his causeless mercy, right? Seeing this, out of the Lord's causeless mercy, in order to make these jivas know him, in order to help these Buddha jivas, these bound souls, to understand him, and to facilitate their crossing samsara and reaching him, himself became Nara, the disciple, and Narayana, the acharya, right? He became Nara Rishi, and he became Narayana Rishi. He became the student, and he became the teacher himself. And he taught, that is, Narayana Rishi taught Nara Rishi, the Tiru mantra, which is the essence of the Artha Panchagam. And we described what the Artha Panchagam was before. Those 5 things. Here, the origination of the Tira mantra is explained to show its greatness. The samsaric chetanas, or the bound souls here in the material world, due to association with this prakriti, or this material nature, which is timeless, right? From time immemorial, right? We've been trapped here in this material world, get trapped in the endless cycle of birth and death and forget themselves and the Lord. So we forget not only the Lord, but we also forget even ourselves, right? Because we become deluded, like it was described there in the previously, that the person doesn't know the difference between the body and the soul. What to speak of knowing that there's a Supreme Lord? So he doesn't know any of that. He forgets all of that. Forgetting themselves is this. This is what it means to forget yourself. All souls are naturally servile to the Supreme Soul, without difference, whether they are in this world or in the other world. Their only and true characteristic is that they are enslaved to the Lord. That's the main, important, most intrinsic aspect, primary aspect of the soul, is that he's enslaved. He's completely subservient and dependent upon the Lord. Forgetting this fact of their natural servitude to the Lord is forgetting themselves, right? When you forget that you're a slave of the Lord, when you forget that you're a servant of the Lord eternally, then basically you have forgotten your nature. Forgetting the Lord is this. Forgetting the Lord, so you've forgotten yourself. Forgetting the Lord is forgetting that forgetting his supreme and all-encompassing leadership, Aishwarya. So when we forget ourselves, then we also forget and we're also forgetting the Lord. We're forgetting his situation, which is as the supreme, eternal, independent, and greatest leader and master. Thus, forgetting their nature as well as the nature of the Lord, they lose the supreme goal of service to him, right? So when we forget our nature and forget the Lord's nature, naturally we forget service, because the service is due to our nature and his nature. His nature is to be served. Our nature is to serve. If we forget about ourselves and him, if we don't understand ourselves, we don't understand him, then we don't understand the need to serve him, the need we have to serve him, right? Unless we understand his position and our position properly, then we don't understand the need for us to serve him. Not only do they lose it, meaning the bound souls in this world, they even lose the feeling that they have lost such a valuable thing. Not only do we not understand this, we do not understand we have to serve the Lord. We do not understand ourselves. We do not understand the Lord, right? Not only do we not understand that, but we don't understand how valuable that is, actually. If we don't understand that we're actually meant to serve God, then how would we understand how valuable that is to us? We couldn't, because we don't even understand it, that it's an essential part of our nature to serve him. Seeing the soul suffer thus, trapped in the samsaric ocean, he took great kindness in his divine lotus heart towards them. He thought that they need to know him so that they can cross this ocean and reach him. Thus, he himself became Nara, the Shishya, or the student, and Narayana, the Acharya, or the teacher, and expositioned that Tira mantra, which holds in it the meaning of all Shastras, and which shows clearly the Artha Panchakam, right? So, what is the Tira mantra in essence? It is the mere Hetaka Kripa, or the causeless grace or mercy of the Supreme Lord. That's what it is. It's the out of his complete causeless grace or compassion on the souls that are bound in this material world, he came and he taught this mantra. He was thinking, how can I have mercy upon these souls and help them from this material world to come back to me? How can I do that? I can come there and I can teach the Tira mantra, and that is going to be the greatest thing that I can do for them, is to give them the Tira mantra, to teach the Tira mantra, to explain the Tira mantra. So I will incarnate as the perfect guru, and I will incarnate as the perfect teacher, and the perfect student, also the perfect shishya, right? Narayana and Nara rishis. And I will perfectly teach the perfect mantra. And this will be the greatest expression of my nirhetika kripa, my causeless, unbounding, unlimited grace on the bound chaitanas, the bound jivatmas, living beings in this world. By doing this, I will teach the mantra, and I will teach the meaning of the mantra. I will teach everything that they need to re-engage, to remember me, and to re-engage in my eternal service, to leave this world of samsara. So, again, Sutra 5. Those in samsara have forgotten themselves and the Lord and have lost service to the Lord. It is so lost that they do not know that they have lost it. Sometimes we lose something, but we know we've lost it. So when you know that you've lost something, you can search after it, you can find it. But if you lose something and you don't even know that you lost it, then you're not even looking to find it. So that is like the understanding of the soul, the understanding of God, and the understanding of serving God is so lost to us in this material world that we don't even look for it. We're not even looking for it. We're so lost. And some people are lost, but they're looking to serve God because they have some knowledge of spiritual life. But some people, most people in this material world, most of the fallen, bound souls, they are so far lost that they don't even know that they're lost. They don't know what they've lost. They don't know that they're lost. They don't know enough to search for what they've lost, because they don't even realize they've lost something. So once again, those in samsara have forgotten themselves, right? They've forgotten the Lord, and they've lost the service of the Lord. Those three things. They're so lost. They're so lost that they do not know. It is so lost that they do not know that they have lost it, the service of the Lord. Thus, sunk in the sea of samsara, they suffer. In this material world, they're suffering. The Lord of all, out of his mercy, kripa, right? It was said in the other purport, nirhetika kripa. Nirhetika kripa means causeless mercy. He doesn't have to do this. He does not have to give his grace. He has a system set up in this material world. He has taught shastras. He has taught methods for people to be upasikas, to perform sadhanas, to follow the shastric rules, to gradually elevate themselves and to come back to him. But he doesn't need to come and give he doesn't need to come and do anything else. But out of his causeless grace, his causeless mercy, he comes and teaches the Astakshara mantra as Narayana and Nara, right? Because the meaning of it exactly explains the Artha Panchakam as it is, right? This is the real meaning, the real esoteric meaning of the soul, of the nature of the soul, by which one can approach the Lord through the process of prapati by taking shelter, and therefore come back so easily to him. The other methods are all methods of extreme effort, and they may take some time, more than one lifetime. But property is something which is easy, quick, and sure. And the Lord doesn't need to teach this. He doesn't need to, he's already taught all these other ways to reach liberation. Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti. He's already taught those in the scriptures. So those paths are also open to the jivas, right? But out of his causeless grace and causeless mercy and compassion, he comes as Narayana Rishi and Nara Rishi and perfectly teaches us how to be a perfect acharya, how to be a perfect teacher, how to be a perfect student, and the perfect subject matter which is to be taught. The Tiru mantra and its meaning, its deep esoteric meanings, which are so important for the prapana, for the person who is a refugee at the feet of the Lord. There may be many other mantras which are important and can be chanted by people who are pasakas who are doing bhakti yoga or some other form of karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti yoga. These paths of effort. But for the prapana, for the person who is taking refuge at the feet of the Lord, who is a refugee, this mantra, Om Namo Narayanaya, and its inner meaning, which explains the Artha Panchakam or explains the actual understanding of the true nature of the soul, of God, and of the relationship between the two, right? This mantra and is so important for the mumukshu, for the person who is the prapana, who is surrendered at the feet of the Lord, who is a refugee at the feet of the Lord, right? The meaning and the meaning, the mantra and the meaning of the mantra, like that. He doesn't need to teach this, but he comes out of his causeless grace or compassion, and he comes and teaches this. So the Lord, out of his mercy, so that they might know him and reach the other shore of the river, the Viraja river, which means Sriman Narayana in Vaikuntha, right? To reach him, we have to do this. Himself became the disciple and the acharya and the teacher and proclaimed the Tira mantra. So this is the amazing greatness of the Tira mantra. It didn't need to be taught. It didn't need to be brought. But out of the Lord's mercy, out of his extreme causeless grace, causeless compassion, and causeless mercy, he came and taught this in a perfect method, in a perfect way, right? He came as the perfect teacher, taught it to himself as the perfect student, and taught the perfect meanings, inner meanings of it, of this mantra, just because he has this boundless nirhetika kripa, causeless grace for the living beings in this world. Because although the living beings in this world can follow the shastras and they can perform so many sadhanas, and there are so many scriptures and so many mantras there for them to follow, there is this very easy method of taking refuge at the feet of the Lord. But in order to do that, in order to perform property, in order to become a prapana or a refugee at the feet of the Lord, one has to have the knowledge, one has to have the realization of these 5 aspects. And the realization of these 5 aspects comes from an understanding of the Tira mantra. So the true power and essence of the Tira mantra is shown because it is the embodiment of the nirhetika kripa, the causeless grace of Sriman Narayana. So, continuing on, those in samsara, right? It starts, the 5th sutra starts with those in samsara. So he's going to explain this in the commentary. Those in samsara means the bound soul, so the Bada Chaitana. The Bada Chaitana is the bound soul, whose experiences the torments of birth and death, subjected to the flood of ignorance, karma, karmic tendencies, vasana. Vasana means karmic tendencies, vasanas, right? And desires, because of their beginningless contact with insentient matter. When the soul comes in contact with matter, it becomes diluted. It becomes covered by maya. It becomes covered by illusion, avidya, ignorance. Then it becomes influenced by these vasanas, these karmic tendencies to do things which are against its nature, to try to enjoy itself, to forget about the service of the Supreme Lord, which is its essence, which we discussed before. It becomes lost. It becomes so lost. It becomes so lost it doesn't even know that it's lost. It's so lost. So when it says those in samsara, it means the Buddha jiva, the Buddha Chaitana, the bound souls. Having forgotten themselves and the Lord in the sutra means that they do not know that they themselves are endowed by nature with the characteristics of subservience, sheshatva, to the Lord, as it is said. So they don't know, having forgotten themselves and the Lord. When we don't know ourselves and we don't know God, then we also don't know that we have to serve God. So we've forgotten sheshatva, we've forgotten that our basic characteristic of the jiva of the individual soul is to serve God. So as it is said, all souls are by nature servants of to the Supreme Spirit, Paramatma. No other definition or lakshana, right? The word lakshana in Sanskrit means a quality which inheres in a thing, which defines it. The lakshana is a definition, right? I think we've talked about this before, that we may say a horse had 4 legs, an elephant also has 4 legs. So we can't say, if I say to somebody, there's an animal outside with 4 legs, they don't know whether it's an elephant or a horse, or it could be another animal with 4 legs. Because I've just said, I haven't given a proper definition. The definition of an elephant, the definition of a horse, is not that they have 4 legs. The lakshana in Sanskrit is the defining quality. A definition means a defining quality. The defining quality of an elephant is it has a trunk. Horse doesn't have a trunk. So if I say there's an animal outside with a trunk, everybody says it's an elephant. They immediately know it's an elephant because I've given, I could have said there's an animal outside with 4 legs. Then you wouldn't know what kind of animal it was. I haven't given a proper definition. I haven't given a proper lakshana in Sanskrit, a proper defining characteristic. The defining characteristic of the elephant is the trunk. No other animal has that trunk. So if I simply say there's an animal outside with a trunk, you say it's an elephant, because I've given the proper lakshana, the proper defining characteristic. The defining characteristic of the soul is not that he has a little bit of independence. God also has independence. Is not that he is a little bit of, he can do certain things. He's a little bit of a doer. God also is a doer. It is that he is the servant. It is his essence of being a servant of the Supreme. That is his defining. If I say there's a person who's a servant, that means a soul. That doesn't mean God. Out of the three categories, we have God, souls, and matter, right? Those things which are not God are subservient to God. Even matter is subservient to God. But the soul is a sentient being who is subservient to God. That is the definition of the soul. So the most important lakshana given here, all souls are by nature servants of the Supreme Soul, Spirit, Paramatma. No other definition or lakshana applies to them in bondage as well as in moksha, right? In bondage, here in this material world, as well as in moksha, doesn't matter. They're servants, they're slaves of the Lord. They don't change that constitutional essential essence. They can't change their essence. Their essential nature is service. Nor do they know the Lord to be their unconditional master. Nirupadika Sheshi, right? As stated in such passages as Lord of all, and the quality of being the Lord and owner inheres in Brahman. But why does he say, have forgotten, rather than don't know? Isn't the word forgotten used when one knew something at one time before and then lost that knowledge? He says it this way only because he is thinking of the strength of the Shesha-Sheshi relationship, of the servant-master relationship, right? Only because of the strength of the servant-master relationship. He is the master, the only master, and we are the servant, his only servants. We're servants only to him, right? Because of the strength of that bond, of that relationship, he uses the word have forgotten, not for any other reason, not for any other reason. For it is so strong that if one realizes that inherent relationship, it seems like a forgotten truth. It seems like a forgotten truth one has previously known, right? We know this is an old argument that people make, is that some people say that, like the Abrahamic idea in the Bible, is that Adam and Eve were in paradise and they forgot the Lord, and when they forgot the Lord, they fell out of paradise. Original sin. So this is not accepted. This is not accepted in Vaishnavism. It's not accepted in Hinduism and Vaishnavism. That this idea of original sin, that originally that we were perfect, and the bound souls were eternally in this material world, right? They never engaged in the direct service of the Lord before, right? But their essential nature is to serve the Lord and only the Lord, right? So because of the strength of their eternal relationship, he uses the words have forgotten, right? Rather than don't know. For it's so strong that if one realizes that inherent relationship, it seems like a forgotten truth one previously had known. So Namalwar says, right, as given in the we can quote the Divya Prabandham here, and Namalwar was saying, I forgot you before. I forgot you before. Okay, although we have to admit that normally we think of Namalwar as a Nityasuri, as a Amsa avatar of the Lord, as an incarnation of Vishvaksena and Nityasuri. So therefore, we can understand that he never forgets the Lord. He never forgets the Lord, but when he's here in this material world, he's saying, I forgot you before. He actually never forgot him, but just to explain to the jivas, to the bound jivas, the way that we should be thinking. We should be thinking that we're so sinful that we've forgotten you. So that's why Namalwar says this. So continuing on, and have lost the service of the Lord in the sutra. In the sutra it says, and have lost the service of the Lord. That means that they have not been able to attain the supreme goal of serving the Lord, who is ordained as the Sheshi, the master, due to the aforementioned ignorance, right? So due to that aforementioned ignorance that we have forgotten or we don't know our relationship with the Lord, therefore, we have lost that service to the Lord. He says, have lost, although we never had it, right, before. He says, have lost, thinking of the great value of that service, because it's intrinsic to the nature of the soul. And how, though he was born only for that purpose, he has gone without attaining it. God created us. He created us in the essence, as the essence of a servant, with an essential nature of service only to him. We were created. Therefore, our purpose is only to serve him only. Right? That's the way he created us. So, because of the strength of that, because of the strength of how he created us, our essential nature is service only to him. Therefore, he says in this sutra, have lost the service, and we actually never had the service before. We will have the service of the Lord again fully when we attain liberation. It is so lost. It is so lost that they do not even know they have lost it. It is so lost that they do not even know that they have lost it. Means that since they are without knowledge of their own true nature, Swarupa, and that of the Lord, right? Because we don't know our nature and we don't know the nature of the Lord. And since they're ignorant of the supreme goal, they don't regret the loss. Excuse me. You don't regret losing something you never knew you had, or you never thought that you had, or you never understood that you could have. You don't regret that loss. Right? If you had something very valuable, or if you had the potential of having something very valuable, right? But you don't know that you had the potential of having that thing, or if you don't know that you had it, then you never regret losing it. You never think about not having it, right? So it is so lost that they do not even know that they have lost it. Means that since they're without knowledge of their true nature, or Swarupa, and that of the Lord, and since they're ignorant of the supreme goal, service to the Lord, right? They don't regret the loss. They don't even think. The Buddha Jivas, they don't even think. We have lost the supreme service, goal of service, to the Sheshi, or the master, which is in accordance with our subservience, or Sheshatva. They don't even think like that. People in this world are completely lost in ignorance. They don't even think, oh, the Supreme Lord is the master, I'm the servant, I'm meant to serve him. And they don't regret that they've lost the service of the Lord. They don't even think that they're meant to serve him. They don't even know that that's a goal. They don't even know there's a God. They don't even understand the self. None of these things do they know. So they can't even regret losing the service of the Lord, because they never know, they don't know about it. They have no idea at all. They don't even know enough to know that they've lost something, or don't have something which is essential for them, which is their essence. Thus, sunk in the ocean of samsara, they suffer. So that means, sunk in the ocean of samsara, they suffer. This means that they are sunk in the great ocean of samsara, of birth and death, the place of endless afflictions, so wide that its shores cannot be reached by one's own efforts. This ocean of material nature is so vast, right? We can't even think of going beyond it, because we can't even see the limit of it. It's like when you go to the shore of the ocean and you look out. Maybe if you go to the shore of a lake or a river, you can see the other bank. But if you go to the shore of the ocean and you look out, you can't see the other side. You can't see even the other side. So how can you even think of going to the other side? You can't even see the other side. At least if you could see in the distance the other shore, you could think about going and swimming to the other side. But when you can't even see the other side, how can you even think of crossing such a body of water? So wide that its shores can't be reached by one's own efforts, right? It is described as the, quote, terrible ocean of samsara full of endless torments, thus overcome by the three kinds of torments, one, adhyatmic, adhibautic, adhidaivic, right? There are these three problems, three torments that we suffer here, right? It could also mean karmas, the different karmas that we have, Prarabdha, Sanchita, and Agami, right? They suffer in pain. So we suffer because of ignorance. We suffer, avidya, maya, right? Maya means illusion. It comes from ignorance, right? So it has been stated that the Chaitanas, the souls, the sentient beings in samsara, number one, do not know themselves, right? That was understood by the M in Om, Omkara, right? That's their true nature is understood by Ma, right? The M in Omkara. Do not know the Lord, which is understood, Lord is understood by the A in Omkara. Are ignorant of the supreme goal, right? That we are meant to serve him and him only, which is understood by the U in Omkara, in Omkara, yes. Yes. Number four, while suffering in the ocean of samsara, do not realize that samsara itself is an obstacle. We don't even think that being in this material world is something which is against our nature. We think we're perfectly at home here. And number five, do not know the means or the upaya to get out of it. So we don't know ourselves. We don't know the Lord. We don't know what the goal is that is service to him, right? We don't realize that being in this material world is an obstacle, right? Meaning all of the things around us, including our wife, family, children, other people, other aspects of the material nature. We don't realize that all of those things are obstacles, right? And we don't realize the actual means to get out of it. What is the means? The means is the Lord. The means is the Lord himself, delivered to us by the Acharya in the form of Thira Mantra, right? We don't realize that. Thus, this means they're completely ignorant of the five truths of Arthapanchika, all five truths, which are to be known. As stated in the passage, the nature of Brahman is to be attained. All the scriptures propound the five truths. In order to make these truths easily understandable for the Chaitanas, for the living beings, the Lord of all revealed the Thira Mantra, which is the summation of all Shastras. It's the summation of all Shastras. Because again, the Thira Mantra is an expansion of the first part, the Omkara, right? And the Omkara is well known as the summation of the whole Vedas, right? In one syllable, right? But the Astakshara Mantra also in the Narayana Upanishad is mentioned as being equivalent to all the Vedas, right? So why read all the Vedas? Why go through all the Vedas, look through the Vedanta, try to follow the 32 or 33 people, some people say 32 Upanishadic Vidyas. There are methods in the Upanishads that say how to understand Brahman. Why go to all that trouble when the Omkara and the Astakshara Mantra, which explains perfectly the Omkara, is right there and is the essence of all the Vedas, right? All the scriptures propound these five truths. But the Thira Mantra is the summation of all these Shastras, right? So the Artha Panchagam is given in the Vedas. If you could read the whole Vedas and understand the Vedas and the Upanishads and the Vedanta, you would understand the Artha Panchagam. But here you have the Artha Panchagam, these five truths explained to you in one short mantra. So why would you not take this small mantra and the meaning of this mantra and understand the Artha Panchika, understand all these truths which free you from this ignorance, this total ignorance that you're here in this material world covered by, right? Why would you not simply take this mantra and the meaning of the mantra and you get all this knowledge and you know everything, right? And therefore, you can then easily understand these five truths, and then that is the way to perfection. That is the way to reestablishing or establishing your essential nature as a servant of Lord and serving the Lord. Below, it is told how he did this. How he did this. The Lord of all, out of his mercy, right, in the sutra, refers to the Lord who, since time immemorial, has shared a relationship with everyone as Lord and subject, Isheshita Vya Sambandha. Sambandha means relationship. Isheshita Vya Sambandha, right? The relationship between the Lord and the souls, the Lord and everything else, as stated in the passage, quote, since there is a beginningless relationship between God and the souls as Lord and subject, it's beginningless. In the beginning, in the Veda, it says, in the beginning, there was one. That was the Lord. Sriman Narayana, that's mentioned also in Narayana Upanishad. Narayanad Brahmo Jayate, Narayanad Indro Jayate, Narayanad Prajapate Prajayante, Atirityo Narayanaha, Shivascha Narayanaha, etc. Right? So Narayan was there. He was the original. Eko Bahunam, Eko Nityo Nityo Nam, Chetanas Chetananam, Eko Bahunam, Yovididati Kaman. That from one he became many. He became many. So from time immemorial, he has had this relationship. He caused everything. He's the cause of all causes. He created everything. And therefore, everything is intimately related to him because he created it. So there is this essential relationship between, he is the master and we are the servants. That is beginningless. That's a relationship that's always been there. Our essential nature is to serve him and him only. That's our very nature, our very essential nature. Our defining lakshana, our defining quality is that we are servants and completely dependent on the Supreme Lord and him alone. This means out of his uncaused mercy, nirhetaka kripa, arising merely upon seeing the miseries of his subjects, the miseries his subjects are experiencing, as stated in the following passage. For the soul, whirled around in the wheel of samsara by his karma, distraught with misery, unfathomable mercy springs forth from Vishnu. Lord Sriman Narayana, Lord Vishnu, right, has, out of his unfathomable mercy, right, he is going to save the soul that is whirled around the wheel of samsara by his karmas, by his ignorant actions in this world, and his interaction with material nature in ignorance. The Lord is going to save him from that misery, so that they might know him and reach the other shore, which is mentioned in the sutra. Means that those who are lying in the ocean of samsara, we're drowning in this ocean of birth and death, being tormented in this way, may know the one who is the means to get out, may know the one, so that they may know the one who is the means of getting out of this ocean of samsara. So he comes and teaches the mantra, the Tira mantra, so that we may know the means for getting out of this ocean. Thus, they might cross over that sea of samsara once we know the means of getting out. For it is said, quote, having attained you as a refuge, men cross over. Having attained you as a refuge, O Lord, men cross over this ocean. And also, quote, for those sunk in the ocean of samsara with minds overrun by sense objects, right? There is no other way. There is no way across at all but the boat called Vishnu or Sriman Narayana. Sriman Narayana is the boat by which we can cross that ocean. We can't even see the other shore of the ocean, but we can cross it if we have a boat. We can't think of swimming ourselves, but if we're in a boat, we can go across. Himself became the disciple and the Acharya, means he descended in the form of Nara, the disciple or the student, and Narayana, the teacher or guru, with Nara as the disciple and Narayana as the Acharya, described in the hymn, quote, he who, as Narayana, elaborated the book of Dharma so that it would not be lost, unquote, and revealed the Tiramantra in the sutra, and revealed the Tiramantra means he proclaimed the Tiramantra, which is a summation of all the Shastras, and which explains clearly and distinctly the 5 truths, which are the essence of the Shastra. Now, that meaning the Arthapanchakam. Now, the thing is, not only is he saying here that Narayana Rishi taught Nara Rishi the mantra, but he also taught him the meaning of the mantra, the esoteric meaning of the mantra, which is stated very clearly here, which is more important for the prapana, for the refugee, the person who's taking shelter at the feet of the Lord. The meaning of the mantra is much more important than the mantra itself, than just chanting the mantra. So somebody may use the mantra in japa or homa or rituals or whatever it is, but the meaning is the important thing. The meaning is the thing which is going to help us to cross like a boat the ocean of samsara. The meaning itself, right, gives us the understanding of who we are, who God is, what our essential nature is to him, that we are only meant to serve him, and that all these things in the material world are not going to help us in any other way. Pila Lokacharya does not say that the Lord composed the Tira Mantra. He doesn't say the Lord composed the Tira Mantra. The Tira Mantra is considered to be revealed. It is eternal. It's an eternal mantra. But revealed it, the word used is prakashipi. Prakash means to reveal, right? This he does in order to show, number one, that the Lord revealed it as something eternal and did not just compose something and proclaim it, right? It's an eternal thing which he exposed to us, which he revealed to us. And two, that he revealed this profound secret because he could not bear seeing the difficult situation of the souls in samsara. It is such a great gift that the Lord has given us, right? That he couldn't bear to see the souls suffering in this situation of samsara, and therefore he revealed the Tira Mantra to us. But isn't it enough for him to appear as an acharya and reveal it? Isn't it enough for him to appear as an acharya, as a guru, as a teacher, and reveal it? Why did he have to become also the disciple? He appeared as Narayana. Why couldn't he just appear as Narayana and teach the mantra and teach the meaning of the mantra? Why did he have to come as the perfect disciple? He came as the perfect teacher to teach the mantra, but why did he have to also come as the perfect disciple? To this he says, and this will be explained in the next sutra. So what I want to do is I want to go to the next sutra, sutra number 6, in the next session. So are there any questions or comments on what we went through today?
Just going to try to summarize it again to see if I get it all stuck in. So for the Ashtakshara, Om Namo Narayanaya, we start with Ma, which means the Jiva, and understanding that we're different from the body. We are not the body. And we try to remember that if we're different, we are the spirit soul, and the Supreme Lord is represented by And then to understand.
Right. Swatantra. He is independent. We're dependent.
And we are paratantra.
So when we understand Ma, we may understand the soul, but we may mistakenly think the soul is independent. Mm-hmm. As soon as we understand we realize the soul is not independent. The soul is dependent, paratantra. The Supreme Lord is dependent, is independent. And we are dependent on him.
And to remember that we're not actually dependent on anybody else, we remember Ukara.
Correct.
So that comes Om. And then we have Namaha, which means that actually the responsibility of our salvation is not up to us. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the Lord. Namaha. We give up that responsibility.
Our efforts make no difference. Absolutely no difference. We are like a kitten who is being picked up in the mouth of the mother cat. Mm-hmm. It is only by his causeless grace that we are saved, and not by any effort that we can make whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. And then Narayana means that our actual true relationship is only with the Supreme Lord, not with anybody else, not with any relatives, not with any friends, not etc., etc. And then Aya is also that everything belongs actually to the Lord, everything is to be offered to the Lord, and actually none of that belongs to us. And we cannot actually depend on any of those things also. We can only depend upon the Lord.
Nothing in this material world. No, there's no, this is also his. This is also subservient to him. Even the dull matter of this world is also subservient to him.
Yes.
And it's not to be, we can't use it in any way in our attainment of, or crossing of the ocean of samsara, in our attainment of the goal of serving him.
And the actual lakshana of the soul is to understand that our true position is as servant. That's the actual lakshana. That nothing that applies to all jivas, no matter what. That they are das, and that's it. And that doesn't change.
And also from Narayana and Aya, we have Narayana means it's the service is for him only. Narayana for him only, or to him only, and not this. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
Well, I was talking about the lakshana of the soul, but then you explain further on Narayanaya and the combination of Narayanaya, that it's not only has to do with the items of this world that we think that belongs to us. None of that can actually help us, but also that all service is to be offered to him by Narayanaya.
Right.
So then we went over that, then we went over the lakshana, then we understand that for prapanna, he has to meditate on this meaning within his heart.
I know what I wanted to say. This material world and these things are all obstacles. They're actually all obstacles to us reaching that state of service, eternal service.
Yeah, these are the virodhi, and that for prapanna, if one is on the path of prapatti, then one has to meditate on the mantra in that way. Whereas an upasaka, who is only dependent on the sound and the protection of the sound, then they don't necessarily understand that, but they will still get the benefit of chanting it, by the protection by the sound. But for prapanna, it's absolutely necessary to at least understand that, because that's the actual, by that knowledge, that's where you realize, where the grace of the Lord comes from. And then just putting that together with Artha Panchakam,
which is also why we chant it softly. Because we don't consider that it's useful for people. It can be useful for people to chant it without the understanding also, but it's better. We want to encourage people to use the Astakshara mantra in the best way. And the best way can only come about by them understanding the Artha Panchakam, by understanding the truth, the esoteric truths within the mantra.
So that really explains why they kept it as a rahasya. That's really the real meaning behind keeping it as a rahasya, rather than people waste their time with just chanting without actually knowing the real esoteric meaning behind it, that one should actually know that. And then with the Artha Panchakam, trying to match the Ashtakshara mantra to the Artha Panchakam, which is Swaswarupa, and which is the nature of the soul, Swaswarupa, then Paraswarupa, the nature of God, and Purushartha Surupa, the goal, and Upaya Surupa, the means, and then the Virodhi Surupa, the obstacles. So then that all covered in, we have Om, where is the Paraswarupa, Ma is the Swaswarupa.
No, Swaswarupa first, then Paraswarupa, yeah.
And then Namaha is the Upaya Swarupa, isn't it? That's the actual Upaya. Upaya Swarupa. Purushartha Swarupa is Narayana. And Aya will be equivalent to the Virodhi Swarupa.
Correct.
Good. So I learned something.
We're all learning something. I'm also learning something. Yeah.
Because I know you always tell us to meditate on the meaning, but when you make it so clear, and obviously it's there and I've read it before, but when you put it, you really emphasize on it like that, then it kind of sticks. It has to stick, because I have a Kali Yuga brain.
Yeah, we all do. We all have to consider these things again and again. We have to consider. Ramanuja spoke about meditation as being like the unbroken flow of oil from being poured in one container to another container when you're pouring an unbroken stream of oil. So we have to continuously meditate upon these things, the meaning, and that's the most important thing. And actually, the chanting of it is important, but it's not as important as the understanding of the meaning.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. So I think it's useful for us to go through it like this, because in this way, what we can do is we especially since I'm reading from two different versions, and I'm also trying to emphasize each point by sort of saying it in different ways in English, and getting the points across in different ways, and hopefully that covering it from all sort of angles in different methods of saying, of explaining it, and that way it sort of sticks in your mind in one way or the other.
One last quick question. With all of that now, would you say that Sri Vaishnavas, they go out, or Prapannas go out and actually try to spread this doctrine? I guess they do, but like they make it like a really big effort, or is it that they more think, okay, when someone has to get some base realization or something like that before, you teach these rahasyas and this knowledge to them?
Yeah, of course. There are so many books like Yadina Madhadipika, Ramanuja himself, and Yamunacharya. They taught the Gita Bhasya, Gita-artha Sangraha. They taught basic texts, basic shastric texts before they taught any of this. These Rahasya Granthas are really taught to people after they take Samashranam, after they take initiation into the mantra. Then they teach them the essence of the mantra. People never can understand. They can never understand the real esoteric meanings of the mantra before they get to a certain level. First of all, they have to, people have to realize they're not that body. I mean, it's like we were talking today. People don't even understand that. They don't even know what they've lost. So first of all, they have to understand what they've lost.
Yeah.
They have to, by understanding their nature and the nature of the Lord, and that they haven't got this essential service to the Lord, which is the essence of their being. Once they understand that, then you bring them to the point of samashrinam, of doing property, and you have to explain property to them. First of all, they won't understand property unless they understand bhakti yoga and all these other things. Why did Krishna spend almost 700 slokas teaching Arjuna other things? He had to bring Arjuna to a certain point where he was completely frustrated and realized he couldn't do those things. Even up to the very last sloka before 1866, Krishna says, Manmana bhava madbhakto majji mamin maskuru mami vaishasi satyam te patijane priyosime. Manmana, think of me. Always think of me. I can't always think of God. Arjuna even couldn't always think of God. Always think of me. Always bow down to me. Worship me. Do all these things. He's telling Arjuna. Arjuna's just saying. So Arjuna's looking at him like, I can't do that. And Krishna then says, okay, I just spent however many hours, teaching you all these other things. Now I'm going to tell you I can see you're not satisfied and you're unable to do this. So now I'm going to tell you about property. I'm going to give you one sloka which is going to solve your problem, because you seem to be utterly incapable of doing any of this stuff that I just told you. So Sarvadharman Parityaja, he then tells him the Charma sloka and solves his problem. Mm-hmm. It solves his problem. But like you said, people are not ready for that. Are people ready for the, otherwise we could just say to people, here's the Bhagavad Gita. Don't bother reading the first 17 chapters. Skip right to the last chapter, to the last this verse, almost last verse, and read that one only. And that's all you need.
Yeah.
And people are going to go, what, why give me this whole book? Or why did the Lord, somebody could come out maybe with a little book. It's only just the Charma sloka. But people can't immediately understand that. They can't immediately understand that. They have to become, first of all, they have to realize they're not this body. They have to realize so many things. Then they have to become frustrated, and they have to realize that they can't do these other things.
Yeah. So in other words,
maybe somewhere along the line, if they're not qualified to take, what I mean by qualified, there is no qualification for property, right? There's no qualification for property. So why do I say qualified? Why did he say here that you shouldn't give the astakshara to people who are not qualified? Why? Everybody's supposed to be qualified for property, so therefore everybody's qualified for astakshara, right? Okay. No, they're not qualified to understand the meaning. They haven't got that. They're not at that point, at that level of realization. They haven't been frustrated enough to understand that they can't do it by their own efforts.
In other words, they have to be a mumukshu.
They have to have karpanya. They have to be feeling completely destitute, hopeless, and helpless. Yeah. They have to stop struggling. They have to realize they're going to be saved from drowning, but they have to stop struggling. So as long as people are struggling, so there's a lot of things that we can teach people even while they're struggling. We can teach them about karma yoga, jnana yoga, bhakti. We can teach them so many things, spiritual things.
I guess it is a good process.
It's a good process.
And teach at least bhakti yoga first, and then when you see most likely someone struggling, okay, well, here you go now. This is property.
Yeah, exactly. So but also there may be people who stay at that level. Their mentality is, no, bhakti yoga is for me, and I'll just do bhakti yoga. Okay, fine, totally fine. Go ahead, do it. Try to do it.
Just get frustrated with everything and just want out, and that's it.
Yeah,